and good evening. Welcome to, we're back. Obviously, we've got Nick as well. How are you?
Yes, great, Adam. Good to be on the show. Had a busy week, but a productive week, which is always good. So
That's
good
brilliant.
to be
Oh, yeah, I'm same. And we have got a guest. We've got Anila Khan. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much. And it's good to see both of you, actually. Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Connecting from the different part of the world, actually.
Yes, we all are from. Yes, and obviously we've got Robert Brooker all the way from Canada. He's tuning in as well. And for everyone that's tuning in, please do put any questions you've got about today's topic. Please share this. Please subscribe if you haven't already. And let's have a really good discussion tonight. So tonight we've got Anila Khan. Obviously, we're going to be discussing on how mental health perspectives changing with intersectionality. Now, obviously, I have to put it out there. This is obviously I'll put that on the promoting as well. It is a trigger warning, so if anyone gets a little bit triggered, it's not our intentions. We just like things as it is. So we've got a bio here. Anila Khan, she's a clinical psychologist, speech and language therapist, psychotherapist and trainer, and keynote speaker. Do you know what? I'm obviously that's your bio, but instead of hearing from me, Anila, let's hear from you. Like, who are you and what do you do to help people in the world?
Okay, so I think it now make me very overwhelmed when I talk about myself, because I've been through in the field for like quite some time, from 2011, feel more global. So I am right now, if you ask me what would I want to do right now, so I would want to study more the culture and the mental health part in that. And also I want to understand how religion is affected into that. So I started just as a like a clinical psychologist, somebody who just want to understand how to work with adults. But meanwhile, I started working with somebody who was never in my mind to work with, and that was autistic and ADHD kids. So from there, my journey as a developmental psychologist started. And with the passage of time, I wanted to learn more about play therapy, speech therapy, other form of therapy. So I did that. And with the passage of time, I wanted to understand that how to work with people who have hidden disabilities. Like hidden disabilities, I mean autism and ADHD. Because people would think over here that it is only childhood condition, So yeah, it's something like that. And with the passage of time, I wanted to understand that how religion is affecting that, how cultures are affecting that. So I get a chance to work with white people, like white culture people, how they're tackling mental health, people from brown culture, people from black culture, from black communities. So yeah, this is how my work is shaped. So I consider myself as a global uh, uh, ambassador of mental health, you could say that. And yeah, some part in that is neurodiversity as well. Yeah. So this is, I just try to squeeze my work actually.
Brilliant. Nick?
Yes. What's the question, Adam?
There is questions on this. I just
No,
thought,
I guess,
would you like an input?
Yes. So, I mean, Anila, with this this topic, I mean, it's what's your sort of why do you think this topic is so important? Why is this? Do you think it's an important thing to discuss? Intersectionality. I think I've got some thoughts I can add in later, but why do you think this is an important thing to discuss?
Okay, I think because nowadays we are in a place where a lot of immigration is happening actually. So people have to move from one place to another place. So when I started studying about the aspect of, there are many people who are not diagnosed, but they are still going through those things in their life. So for example, if somebody is going from my country to another country, it will take some time to them. or maybe they got a diagnosis with depression and anxiety, but it was never depression, anxiety, or OCD. All along it was something else which was playing. So it came into my mind that what are the circumstances, because when I will start studying the DSM, when I will start studying the diagnostic criteria, there are a lot of discrepancy in that. And meanwhile I also found that we don't even have proper criteria for female. So what are the female needs actually? So the need of the female, then the need of the intersectionality, because I have many people who came in my country from your country, and they still want somebody who can cater their needs. What are their culture needs, and what it mean to be somebody who is abilities or cater needs will be catered or not. So I think that was the important part in that and I know many people who migrated to your countries, and they were not able to get the right help because they were not able to get the diagnosis. Then I contacted a lot of professionals from different part of the world, and then we started this debate of intersectionality, and we get the idea that if I'm not able to diagnose in my own culture, what I'm going to do then?
Yeah.
Maybe
criteria.
sorry, come back. Oh, wait. I was just going to say maybe we should
a little bit then.
Maybe we should sort of explain, perhaps for the an audience who aren't familiar with the term in intersectionality. If I understand it correct, it's how factors like gender, race, culture, or religion impact someone's experience of mental health. Is that correct? Would you say? Is that an accurate description, Anila? Just for people who might not be familiar with the term.
Yeah. So intersectionality means that you have one, let's say, somebody is going through depression. Is depression is going to be same in America and Australia or in Japan? So if we want to understand that, we have to have the understanding of that culture. Because, for example, in my culture, if a male is not sharing his needs, not sharing his emotion, or in my culture, if female is not talking about her problems, it is considered very normal. But in your culture, it's not like that. In your culture, female have to talk about her problems. In my culture, a male cannot cry in front of everybody. He cannot show his experiences, his emotional experiences. But in your culture, it's not like that. In your culture, if male is not sharing his experiences, but in your culture, it's not like that. So when we are going across culture, what we have to understand is we have to things are considered in their culture and how the definition of normalcy is over there. So I think that is intersectionality. That what are the different sections of the culture that are perceiving things like that. So if we talk about something which is global, for example, autism is a global term. ADHD is a global term. So if we have to understanding that how we have to devise some mechanism that is going to help, and if we have to have some advocacy for that, we have to sit on the same table, but we have to have the understanding that things are different in different culture. The definition of normalcy is different. So we have to take all the consideration in our mind, and then we have, yeah.
So when it comes to mental health, like for example, your experience living with mental health, how has all of this, like race, discrimination, all that, how has it impacted your mental health?
Okay. So I think when you are becoming a therapist, you have to have a lot of work on yourself as well.
Yeah.
So if I am delivering something, if I am working on something, or if I have to devise some plan, or if I even have to work on the part of the assessment, I have to go through that part of assessment as well. You know, I have to subject myself to that as well, and I have to work on my trauma, and I have to work on my understanding as well. For example, I'm a neurodivergent person, so I have to have the understanding that what is my masking, what are my sense, so work through all that. So being a mental health professional, you have to have understanding of your own, and you have to have a continuously, uh, a liaison with your research supervisor or your trainer, just to understand that, okay, either you're going through, or either you're going, or you're assessing through that or not. For example, I took some training that was unmasking training, and that was a very different experience for me, because that experience showed me that how my how I have professional personality from myself or my real self actually. So that was my professional self, and that is my real self. So whenever I will talk to people, I will talk about my work. But when they asked me during the training that who you are, what do you like, what do you don't like, what is going to make you uncomfortable, and I don't have the answer for that. So okay, having the understanding of your real self is important. You have to have the understanding that okay, this is who you are. So it is a continuous self working as well. So you cannot just be a good therapist and not working on yourself. You have to have the reflection toward you as well. So I think it's a continuous work. So working on your with your clients and also working on yourself. So you have to have those venues. So sadly, I don't have those venues, and I have to create those venues.
Yeah. So
Not just for the people.
Yeah. So I've put this particular topic.
That
I've started doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So I've started doing this over the last couple of weeks, where I've put this topic into AI, and I've asked it to give me some questions to ask.
Yeah.
And it's given different areas, different topics about this. And I'm going to ask you this one. Why are Asian Americans often stereotyped as the model minority, and how does this myth silence their mental health struggles?
I think we're having some issue with the internet. Can you see him?
Can you hear me, Nick?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not breaking up. I think Anila's breaking up though.
Can you please repeat what you are saying right now?
Yeah.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. So to repeat the question is, why are Asian Americans often stereotyped as the model minority, and how does this myth silence their mental health struggles?
I think when you're talking about Asian Americans, I get a chance to work with families who have been living there for their 4 generations, and when I talk to them, their problems are still people who are living in this country, in Pakistan, let's say, because I'm from Pakistan. So I will mainly give you the example of Pakistan. So they have still those issues right now, and they will still talk about those struggles and still talk about those things, that how their family have been taking those things. So let's say, for example, if they have issue with the marriage, if they have issue with the family, with the family structure, how a role of father is, how a role of mother is, and how they are going to take the patriarchy, and how they are following those rules, that they have to feel like that they are trying to be, or they are looking like that they are becoming more like Pakistani, or they feel like more Pakistani rather than people living over here. So I think that is something, when they feel alienated to go to those countries and living there, then they become more closer to their religion, they are following religion more closely, and they want to follow that culture more, because they feel like that they have this ties are breaking now, they are living in some other country, and just to satisfy their need of identity, because they don't identify themselves with the Americans over there, and they still want to be Pakistani, and just because of that reason, many of them come back to Pakistan and they get married over here. They want to marry their children over here, and this is the same reason actually. So this is the thing which I feel actually. Maybe somebody else can give you some other perspective of that.
I had a thought.
That is my you could say that is my point of view about that.
I had a thought that I wonder whether a lot of media, particularly the film industry, often will create stereotypes of different cultures, religions, or races in films. So if you watch films, there are often stereotypes portrayed of certain, certain characteristics, certain people from certain religions or races are often stereotyped in films. and I don't know whether that in some ways adds to, because I think part of the problem is, we stereotyping. So we think all peoples from a certain race or religion think a certain way or act a certain way, and I think that sometimes the film industry can reinforce certain stereotypes. I don't know whether you have any thoughts on that.
But what you're saying right now is because there's something into that as well. I don't know you have this idea or not, people have this idea or not, but still, even living in this country, people would come to us at the end. First, they will go to everybody else. Like they would go to a medical doctor, they would go to a psychiatrist, they would go to any, like they would go to 10 people before they would coming to me. And in that, there would be lots of religious scholars involved in that as well. So they would go and they would find so many reasons so that they can just go and they just problem can just go away. But when it comes to mental health actually need to be dealt by the way that it is supposed to be dealt. So by praying more, you cannot get away with your problems. If it's autism, it will stay there. If it's ADHD, it will stay there. If it's depression, it will stay there. So you, by creating some kind of positive aura around, it is not going to go anywhere. You are just going to deny your problem more rather than accepting that. And in some cases, still it is happening in 2025 in my country, let's say, and I think it might be happening in other places as well, that if you have some mental health problem, God is testing you. God must be testing you. Allah must be testing you. Or if you have a child with disability, they would say to you, and I have seen educated people saying those to other people, that Allah is testing you. Allah is testing you for your sin. You have done something very wrong. That's why you have a child like that. So this is the reason that why still people are stereotyping religion with that, and they're talking about that, because there are many studies happening with that. If you see that there's a very strong connection of somebody having that somebody is religious and depression, because in some cases, if you see that in some, and I would say sometimes it has been presented to us like that, like Allah is testing you, pray more, your problems is going to get away, and you're not acting on something. For example, if it's a problem with your relationship, you have to work on that relationship. If your child is autistic, you have to start working on his abilities and skill rather than just sitting like that. You're just wasting your time, you're just wasting that child time. So many factors are that, but the point is we have to work on that rather than just sitting back and doing nothing.
Yeah, well, obviously I'm not religious. I've never been religious, and I have no intentions of being religion. But obviously, me and my wife, we've got autistic kids, and the challenges, I can admit right now, raising autistic kids, it's a full-time job. But
yeah, exactly, it is.
It can have a tear on our mental health. So what strategy would you recommend your clients or whoever comes and sees you to obviously work with them, work with the kids on better communication, maybe?
Okay. So, when we talk about autistic kids, you're right that it is a 24/7 job. And I think, like, if I'm a therapist, a child would come to me for 30 or 40 minutes, but they are staying there with parents. And we have to understand that they have more needs and they have extra need as compared to other families. So, what I feel is, if we talk about the support system, we have to work on the support system of that families. So I have a friend who is working on the support system of white collar families, because it's not just about you having a kid, it's about extra, like you have to have more money for therapies, you have to have more money for if your child have a certain needs. I mean, if the child have food sensitivity, you cannot give any food to your child or every food to your child. Your child might have certain sensitivity, you have to work on that as well. You cannot go out like that. So, like you're talking about the communication aspect in that, what I feel is, when a child is waking up in the morning, and it need to be a very basic communication skill, like basic thing, and I always want people to talk to them like you're talking to other people, so don't think that the child is not understanding. The child understand everything, the child feel the energy. So uh, making a plan for the child, first thing is plan, second thing is making a strategy for the whole day. And you can do it like if you have 7 days a week, what you're going to do with that? And also you have to have time for yourself as well, if you can take out that time for yourself. And also the important part in that is getting no to other parents who have kids like you, just to have a support system and having a support system with each other, so that you can pull each other out from that situation. But beyond everything, parents mental health is also very important. They have to take care of themselves as well. And then if it comes to child needs, even if it's the communication part in that, I think picture exchange is very helpful, very much helpful in that.
Yeah.
So if you are saying something, if you can make a card of that, and repeat that thing. And what I think is, it need to be same all the time actually. Like sameness bring a lot of less anxiety actually. So if you're going to change thing, you have to talk to your kids that we are going to do that. So make a habit of communicating with your child. It is going to create the anxiety less. Like if you talk about kids, that sometimes they get very upset, or they get upset, or they get angry why the routine is changed, and that is a result of meltdowns also coming with that. So the more sameness that you have, the more routine that you have, and you have written down everything, you are using boards or whatever you're using, if it is in front of you, the whole schedule is in front of you, it is going to make your life easy as well.
Yeah. Go on, Nick. You muted, Nick.
I haven't done that for a while. I think perhaps part of the challenge can be that where certain cultures perhaps don't see mental health at the same level as physical health, so they don't think mental health can be something a doctor could help with, and it also could be part of a culture, and including British culture, not to talk about mental health. It's traditionally in say British culture not to talk about it, but it's changing. But I wonder if there is a wider thing that in some cultures that mental health is something that it's not seen as something a doctor a doctor can help with. It's not a thing you should go to a doctor for, when actually we need to sort of try and move towards a change in viewpoint wherever possible, where it's seen the same as physical health, and that if you've got a mental health challenge or a physical health challenge, you can see a doctor, and not to see them differently. And I think that's something not to so I think that's one thought. Do you think, Anita?
This is not just happening in your culture, like it's happening. Like I talked about my culture, what is happening over here. And instead of going to doctor, they would just go to some faith healers, and they would just eat things which they're not supposed to eat and do things which they're not supposed to do. For example, if somebody is even going through some physical disability, they would just give them some supplements, and they don't understand that it is a by birth thing. And
of course,
certain disabilities are not going anywhere. You just have to manage them. And as far as the physical aspect is concerned in that, if you just say somebody that I am just having a headache and I'm feeling dizzy, they would just say that why don't you take off and just go to your house and just enjoy this and take some rest and have some soup and be cool. They will take it like that. But when you talk about them, I'm not okay, I'm feeling like my heartbeat is going out, and I'm having some kind of panic attack, and I couldn't sleep last night. So they would say that why don't you just eat one medicine, just sleep some medicine or aspirin or whatever they gave you, and just sleep that. But when it comes to some real issue that you are facing at your workplace, and that could be somebody or somebody in your workplace, that they are degrading you, or they're creating some problem for you, or you are not able to do according to your job, or you're losing your job. It is a real problem. If you're losing your job, you're going through a lot of stress, and you're not going to uh, forget the stress if you take any medication. You're not going to do that. For that, you have to have somebody around you. You have to talk to that person, and that might take some time, and that actually takes some time. But you have to do some work for that. You have to go through certain kind of confrontation from that. So whenever it will come to any psychological thing, and there's something else to that as well. Somebody who's a psychologist, people would think that the psychologist is a magician, and you would just go to psychologist and they will just look at you and they will understand everything about you. That is not possible. So still date, whenever we go to I just don't want to hear this from people when they say that.
I admit there are a lot of professionals out there that believe they know the child better than the parents through a piece of paper, and it's a lot of bullshit.
That you do everything and you have some alien technology and you will just push a button and everything will come in front of you. But the point is, whenever we talk about mental health, it is still a stigma till today. There's so many problems which has been presented very differently, so they just rather try to create a big thing out of that rather than talking about how you can deal with it. For example, if you talk about autism, till now it has been that is something that you need to eradicate from this humanity, and they have put billion of dollar. And the second problem is when you talk about the medicine industry, when you talk about pharmacological industry and drug industries, they want you to take drugs. They want you to take medication for your problem. That's why they are it like that. They just want you to talk about you just take a medicine, and you know that if you take medicine, your confidence is not coming back from medication. If you have a problem with your wife, with medicine, your problem is not going to get end. We have to talk about that. So I think a lot of industries are involved behind that, which just don't want us to. And with the passage of time, they just want to take the rights from people. They just want to people make machine. They just don't want to understand that why it's happening and work on that. So I think
education's big industry.
So I'm going to ask something that I've never asked anyone before. Do you believe, as a psychologist, and I think I'm going to ask this to quite a lot of people, to be honest, do you believe when autistics come and see you, do you believe they're more like children who are in school, in an educational setting, are more withdrawn, isolated, depressed than children that are not in school?
Okay, there's a reason behind why people think like that. The point is, when you talk about schools, the school environment it's very demanding environment, and school want you to there's some history involved with it. I don't know you know about that or not, but if you look toward the schools, there are a lot of setting in the school and a lot of lines in the school, and this is a setting that two 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 two. If you just look toward them, you think like it is exactly when there's some army structure over there, military structure over there, because military structure is that much structured. We don't have school where there are round tables and children are around like that. In these places where kids are sitting like that, the learning environment is different. But what they want people to be in school is they just want you to give instruction, and you have to follow that. They want you to give instruction, but you have to obey that. Either you want that, either you don't want that. Same is true for when we talk about the psychological testing. Why people invented those tests? Because they want to have people, either they can obey us or they cannot obey us. They can do mechanical work or they cannot do mechanical. They have manual dexterity or they don't have manual dexterity. So that's why they invented those psychological tests. That's why they invented those schools as well. So in school it is like that. And there's this thing with autistic or let's say ADHD kids, that if something is wrong, they're going to talk about that. If there's something is not going to the way that it is going to or it is supposed to be, they will question that, and people don't want them to be questioned. Teacher don't like questions sometimes. Teacher don't want to be tell that you're wrong over here, because it is like that, because it is supposed to be like that. But if you talk about autistic brain, there will be question all the time. And
I think that's caused quite, and I think Nick, you can back me up on this one. I'm unsure, but I'd like to hear from you as well. Where I think that's what causes confusion in children, is because parents are bringing them up for the first 3 years of their life to walk, run, talk, play, laugh, make noise. But then when they get into a school setting, they're told to shut up, sit down, be quiet, be silent, or all that. But it's like, if they're doing that, and I understand why they do it, why are they being restricted from expressing how they feel to the peers?
I think, sorry, Ken.
The children being depressed at that time is because if you see around and children are not understood. If you say something, children would start making laugh at you. And you know that how many meltdowns are coming not in school but at home. Children would go to home and they will have lots of meltdown.
Yes.
And lots of children are
That's
suffering
because they're
from that.
masking. They're masking.
But neurotypical kids are also majority kids are also suffering from that. And slowly and gradually they just became robots. You just want robots in the school. You just don't want them to explore anything, do something. And in many cases we ask question, okay, we study so many things. Do we see any implication of those things in the society? I mean, we study lots of things. We study physics and we study biology and that, this and that, and chemistry. But sometimes we have studied those things which were not. And now, if you talk about what is happening in therapeutic centers, we are talking about life skills. Don't you think so? Life skills are important. Life skills are very important for kids, either boy, either girls. And life skill means that how to make your bed, how to eat, how to do something, how to talk to, how to take care of each other. But children don't know how to do that, and they will still look to other people. They will still look to their parents to do those things. But beyond it, I think there's the reason that why kids are sad. Like you're talking about, kids are isolated because kids have been made isolated by people around them.
Yes.
They are sad because people are making them sad, actually. So why we put everything on autistic kids? Why not we tell the society that it is your job to cater those needs?
Nick?
Yeah, I think it can be challenging, like children when they get into school, because they've been, like you said, brought up since three. They've had their parents influencing them, with their way of thinking. So their parents' own personal expectations and their own personal ways of thinking, perhaps parents' religion or parents' background, and then they go into school, which obviously have a different, perhaps, set of way the children are expected to behave, and a way lessons what to believe. And I guess that sometimes there can be a conflict there between the way they've been brought up with their family socialization and beliefs, and then going to school and what the school teaches, and then and other children. So and sometimes there's that can be a challenge for children then to work out, well, what should I be believing or thinking, and because that's a process that children have. As they grow up, they have to determine themselves what they should believe, what they should, and that's a process, I think. And sometimes there can be that that sort of conflict as they enter the school field. I don't know what you think about that.
So around holiday time, like half term, obviously I know autistic children struggle to process half term, like being off school and stuff like that. I understand that from experience, but I want to talk about the without signing ageist or anything like that, but the older generation, they don't have a clue about special needs. They don't understand like autism or ADHD or anything like that. That to them, a disability is physical. You can see it.
Exactly.
But autism and that, yeah, physically you can, but mentally you can't. So how do we, I'm not going to say how do we try and get them understand, but how do we try and stop that stigmas and calm the stereotypes down?
Okay. So, when we talk about adults, I think they have been masking so long actually that they even forget about themselves and their needs, Like, okay, and there's a very interesting thing about you understanding your needs. I'm talking about not just physical aspect. Let's talk about even psychological aspect in that as well. For example, you have been in a place where people would be, giving you suggestion all the time, or maybe telling you that you're not confident enough and you're doing things wrong and you're doing things wrong. And let's say I know somebody who went through certain trainings and certain support groups, for example, we have now support groups. Like I also have a support group for autistic adults, which is free as well. And I have support group for autistic teen as well. I have support group for Pakistani people, like who are actually talking in Urdu actually. So making a reason for that and making for those support groups was so people start and they talk about their needs and they talk about, oh, we might be autistic. So one day I put that question, that what was the age when you were diagnosed. So one age that was coming in front of me was 82 years. So somebody at the age of 82 have this question backside in their brain, that who we are, where we belong. So before that, if you see any adult, you would see multiple misdiagnoses in their life. But when we talk about their needs, okay, the idea of you going through some diagnosis means that you are already aware of that you are going through something and something is not making any sense, and having the right support. But there's this point of going to that diagnosis. So that is a very personal journey actually. So we cannot push people toward that. Like for example, you're asking what they can do about that.
Yeah.
You cannot push somebody to go toward that process, but everybody have their own journey toward that. And there's something else which I always wanted to mention, and which like I have seen people suffering from that. The moment you start talking about that, the moment you start talking about creating boundaries, the people who were close to you, they will start getting away from you, because they were so immune to you to listen to them. They were so immune you to listen to them, and they were making maybe fun of you. Oh no, they're our very friend. And the moment I know those conversations where people would say that, oh, I thought that she's my friend for 40 years of my life, and I saw her, she was so negative about me. Like I just tell her that I have this intelligence test and I have this high IQ, and she was saying it is not possible. And I just don't want to tell her the name of the test. I took a diagnostic test, or I took an intelligence test, but I don't want to tell her that which test I want to. So that was her way, standing up for herself. But that was the time when she realized that that is not her friend. She is just here to make her feel better, that I'm better than you. But let's say if she's not better. So you have to, people are afraid that we are going to, lose friends. I think those people are never your friend, that who were treating you like that. But you would be so immune to those people that you would say that, okay, even it's about food as well. Like there would be some food that will always, okay for you. But the moment you start realizing, like I have some sensory issue, I have sensory sensitivity, and all of a sudden that food be not, your body will not accept that food. So it was that kind of masking that you internalize that masking. No, it's a very good food, I'm going to eat that food. So I think it is that kind of the moment you realize that you have food sensitivity, you're not going to get those things again, and it's going to create issue for you. Sensory sensitivity is like that. People around you is like that. The conversation that you are having in your life is like that. So unmasking is a very different process and different journey. But realizing that, like, it's not an easy process. You will be angry on yourself. You'll be angry on your parents, your friends, your society. But at the end of the day, maybe you just have to sit, and say, okay, this is nobody's fault.
And the unmasking, I think generational trauma has got something to do with that as well. Because for years, generations, we've had this mask on and not understanding. Like, I'm 34 years old. Well, young, shall say. I need to stop saying old. But shut up, Nick. but I've only known mental health actually existed in 2008. Which shows the lack of education, unless people was withholding that information. But have you noticed in families, and this is you as well, Nick, as well, where have you noticed in families, like when a child's born, it's all exciting, let me cuddle and stuff like that. But as soon as a special need come into that child, whether it's autism, cerebral palsy, whatever, that grandparent sees that child as broken and they blame the parent instantly.
I mean, I think there is an element of, but I don't think everyone has always the right social skills or confidence to speak up these things. So, if you're going through your own struggles, or if it's your child or someone else, being able to communicate that clearly and be assertive where you need to, and all the things that you need to do to get the help you need, the recognition to speak out. I think a lot that sometimes we don't all have the social skills to do that. And I think that can be part of the challenge, isn't it? Because sometimes these situations where you've got to fight to be heard, to communicate your challenges, and particularly if it's your children as well. It's quite you've got to be really quite determined and confident and have that communication skills. And I think that can be sometimes element.
But I think Adam, you're right, and I have seen even over here that people who have those kids, they have been isolated by their family, and I have seen what they do is they would call to the parents that your child is creating this issue for us, and the child is going to break our glass, and please don't bring that child. So I think that is very real, and I have seen those families, and I think I talk about white collar families, they are suffering because of that reason, and people around them, they can afford things, but they let the parents to be like that because they think that, again, like I told you, that because they have done something very much wrong in their life, that's why they have a kid like that. And in certain cases we know that the child is like that because the hospital needs were not enough actually, or maybe they have lack of oxygen. They don't even have a oxygen at that of time. They don't have a small baby like setting or whatever you can call it, incubator, things like that. It was not there, or maybe whatever the needs were, whatever the issue was. So uh, whatever whosoever that is, the child is born, and I think kids like that will be born, and it will be born, and it can be in anybody's family. So even there are so many researches which are coming, and they are talking about neurotypical, neuromajority kids have neurodivergent kids in their families. So it is happening. We don't know why it's happening, but understanding, even if you talk about even mental health, with the passage of time, it's such a stereotype that people have started attributing their bad behavior with the mental health actually. So if you talk about to them any problem, that why you're doing that, oh, I have this depression, that's why I do that. So their bad behavior, them not being available to you, is their mental health problem, and they would just want you to just get away, let them get away with those things. But I think the way to combat those problems, or maybe fight with those things, is just to talk about more that what is real mental health, what is the problem, it's a life of a parent to have autistic kids in their life, or ADHD kids in their life, or sometimes even if cerebral palsy or some other problems, let's say. But I have seen people who have hidden disabilities or hidden challenges. Let's say if we talk about autism, they suffered more actually, because they cannot tell somebody that we have that. But I think we have been portraying even mental health very wrongly as well actually. So if you see toward movies, if there is some character, if there is a villain, so that villain have some problem. Like you were talking, Nick, you were talking about some family, the movies actually. So if it's a Joker, oh, Joker have this issue, or if it's this villain have this mental health problem, the villain have a split personality. What split personality have to do with somebody villain? What Joker trauma has to do with somebody's mental health? So I think we have been doing those things, and we have been portraying mental health or maybe certain disabilities or issues or maybe spectrum very wrong. And I think we need to stop those things, because those things don't present mental health. They just want to traumatize this more. They just want to normalize the trauma as well. So trauma should not be normalized. If it is normal, people are not going to some mental health profession, and they will think that this is my certain behavior. So
I think I think we've got to be careful of stereotypes, isn't it? I think one can be that people with certain neurodiverse spectrum conditions have low intelligence. That can be a stereotype, when obviously the opposite is true, or it doesn't make any difference, no relationship. But I think there is often these stereotypes, and they often come out in films, but also just their cultural stereotypes as well. And I think stereotypes can become very ingrained in the culture almost. So I think that's one thing. And I think the other point I make is I think sometimes there's a lot of confusion often about mental health issues, and there's obviously more and more, and also neurodiverse conditions. And I think there's more and more research, obviously, all the time. But I think sometimes that doesn't really help. It just almost sometimes can be overwhelming and still leave people confused. So I guess it's how do we give more information without just confusing people more sometimes?
They're working for a very specific class actually, and they're working on a specific issue, which stay to those people actually. So when we talk about, if you talk about some research and that is helping everybody out, so I think that is going to create more awareness rather than you making this problem. Okay, this is some, for example, if talk about autism, people would usually talk about autism is equal to Rain Man. So they have this Tom Cruise movie where he have some brother who was Rain Man, and they would just associate with that, and he actually took some advantage of that person in that movie, which is not a good thing, by the way. But even then, if you're looking toward that, this stereotype, that is more dangerous actually. So nowadays, if everybody's calling them, I don't believe that everybody is autistic if they are saying that, for so many reasons, let's say. But people are taking advantage of that. They are making money out of disability. Lots of people are watching them, and they don't understand that the person who is talking, he is even have the diagnosis or not, let's say. Or let's say, if beyond that, it's a parent advocate, it's a self advocate, and they don't understand that every experience is not my experience. So diversity is important in that, if you talk about the issues. And it's not necessary, if this issue is with me like that, it's not necessary, it could be like that with you too. So if you want to encounter those problems, you have to talk about how things are real. Because if you say that, you cannot stop them talking about things like that, because that's how they're making money out of that. So what is right? And this is what I always do actually. So I will start talking about what is the right thing, what you can do, how you can counter that thing. Just rather stop talking, like fighting with them.
Yeah. So where can people find you?
Okay, so you
if
can
they want to
find
get
me
in
on.
touch.
Okay, so you can find me on Facebook. On Facebook, I'm with my name of Anila, and on LinkedIn, I'm also with the name of Anila. But I have given one a very interesting name by my friends from the Germany. That there's this ADHD women group, and like I'm working with them and learning from them. I'm working with them, and they start calling me Busy Bee. I like this name, so my Instagram handle is Busy Bee actually. Rest is, you can find me with the name of Anila Khan. Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah. So, any final words, Nick?
My final thoughts are that all cultures in many ways are distinct and different and unique, but we all have our own stereotypes and prejudices and perceptions within a culture. And like I said, in Britain, things are changing, but I think men don't talk, and we don't talk about mental health. That's a part of our British culture, but it's changing. But I think that's the point, really, is that every culture is unique, but every culture has a challenge around. And I think it's all about, goes down to raising awareness, isn't it? At the end of the day, it's all about raising awareness.
And this is what we do every week.
Exactly. That's what it starts with.
That's what we do. What about you, Anila?
Okay, so I would like to thank both of you that you give this amazing, like you came and your question was very different actually. So I'm always happy when I have to answer different question. Otherwise I have always the same question and talk about this, talk about that. So sometimes the person who's talk, he don't have to think about that. But today I have to think about the question that you have asked, and I'm so happy that we are all from different places, but we share same goals. And the goal is to talk about mental health. And I think Adam also talked about autism, and he also asked question, and like Nick also give a very amazing perspective. I would just like to to thank both of you to have this conversation and keep on going. Please keep on doing that and talk about that as much as you can. If you want to talk, or if you want to encounter any stereotype that you are facing, or you're facing due to your children, or you are facing because of anything, I think you can encounter this by having this conversation, and we have to continue this conversation. Otherwise, those you will see a lot of negativity around us, and that negativity is coming from all the stereotype. And people will not talk about their problems, they will not talk about their mental health issues, and they will stop talking about all those things. And sometimes people would say that, oh, you're not expert of that thing. To talk about your child problem, you don't need to be an expert of that. Your child, and your problems are very real. So thank you so much for having this conversation, inviting me, giving me chance. So I'm glad that I presented Pakistan from this side of the world, and It was amazing talking to both of you.
First, isn't it, Adam, to have some Pakistan? No, we have a lot of people in Britain and America, but I think it's our first.
It is first, isn't it? It is first.
Yeah. Spreading.
So next week, guys, and obviously thanks everyone for coming on. But next week, I'm not here. I'm skiving again. No, I'm not. But we are going to be talking now. Obviously, we've heard of growth and we've heard of rock bottom, but nobody ever talks about the messy middle ground, like the middle of it. But that's the topic next week. So it's another trigger warning. And on next day, Ashley will be back. And yeah, so
Adam, did you have any final thoughts on the subject?
Yeah, just never live in silence. Do not live in silence. If something is burdening you, if something's bothering you, talk to someone, because you never know who is going to be listening and who is going to reach out and say, let's help.
Good words.
Never know. So on that note, I will see you later. Martin, I'll give you a call shortly. And yeah, thank you, everyone. And please keep subscribing and sharing. Let's do this.
Do subscribe. Right. And Anila, nice to meet you. Nice to.
You can always, call me. I always love to,